Hey, how's it going guys? Phil here, and this is a review for the Fezibo electric height adjustable standing desk with keyboard tray, model number S8. My computer's been set up at the dining room table for a while now, but because it's so tall and I am not, it's not ergonomically ideal, and that's been putting a lot of strain on my back and shoulders. So let's put together this height adjustable desk and give it a try. You'll receive a support leg with integrated motor, a center crossbar, spindle bar, 2 side support brackets, 2 feet with pre-installed leveling studs, 4 optional caster wheels, desktop surface which comes in 2 pieces, and I have the 48-inch by 24-inch version in rustic brown. You'll also receive a keyboard tray in the same finish, and a pair of drawer sliders and hangers for it. And finally, a pack of hardware and accessories, the power adapter, control unit, optional accessory hangers, and assembly manual. To begin assembly, lay the support legs on top of the box the desk came in, with the top sections facing inwards towards each other. Then take the center crossbar with the integrated flat bracket facing up, and the notched underside slotting over the motor. The side with the holes should be facing the legs. Make sure the bar is seated all the way to the end so that the holes here line up. Then take 4 of the short M6 by 14 bolts and secure the crossbar to the legs using the included large Allen wrench, placing 1 bolt in each large hole and 1 at each end. Next, we'll attach the 2 feet, using 4 of the long M6 by 30 bolts in each. The foot pads should be facing out. I found it easiest to slightly screw on all 4 bolts at once, then tighten each one individually to ensure alignment. Once that's done, we can stand the desk up. Now we'll attach the side support brackets with the 2 holes facing the outside, lining it up with the holes at the top of each leg. We'll use 2 of the short bolts here. Then do the same on the other side. Next, take the aluminum coupler with hexagonal hole and slide it onto the shank of the motor, making sure the holes for the set screws are facing you. Make sure it goes all the way up to the motor. On the other side, insert the spindle into the hole opposite the motor shank. Make sure it goes into the hole as far as it can. Now slide the coupler towards the spindle and insert it in the other end. Make sure each bar goes far enough into the coupler so that you can see metal through the hole. Be aware though that if you go too far, you may exceed the length of the motor shank. You can either back the coupler out or extend the spindle from the leg. Either way, just make sure you can see metal behind both holes. Then insert and tighten the included set screws with the small Allen wrench. Next, we'll assemble the tabletop. First, place the 2 halves with the holes in the middle facing each other. On mine, the 48-inch length desk, it has 5 holes. If you've planned ahead, do this step on the floor with the tops facing down, as you're going to flip it over anyway. Insert a dowel into each of the holes, then line them up and connect them with the other side, making sure all the dowels are inserted before closing the gap. If you've done this right side up like I did, just be careful when flipping it over to not put any strain on the middle, or the dowels could break, so it would just be easier to connect them upside down. Now we'll fasten the halves together with flat brackets and 2 of the short pointed wood screws per plate. The holes on the underside are pre-piloted, and the MDF wood is soft enough that you can simply use a manual screwdriver. I don't recommend using a power tool here, as you may strip the screw or the tabletop itself. Just make sure the screws are centered and you drive them straight down, because you can't really back them out and try again. For the 48-inch top, you'll only need 2 plates, 1 on each side. Do not install a plate in the middle, as you'll need to connect the crossbar next. And here's why you should assemble the tabletop on the floor, because now we need to flip the frame upside down on top of it. If the back of the desk is facing away from you, the motor should be on your left-hand side. You'll want to line up the holes on the side brackets with the pre-drilled holes on the bottom of the desktop, 4 on each side. Then secure the side supports with the short wood screws. Don't remove the rubber washers on the side brackets. While they may deform a bit when tightening the screws, they will help reduce vibrations and improve stability while the desk raises and lowers. Also, don't forget to connect the center crossbar's flat bracket to the middle of the desk. Since the screws are pretty short, they won't go in super deep. The desk comes with 2 plastic J-hooks, and you can install these or not at your discretion. They have a 2.5-inch height and 2.25-inch width. If using, place them over the pre-drilled holes facing out and secure with 2 wood screws. There's 1 hook for each side. The plastic stud feet are adjustable in height about 3/4 of an inch, so you can level the desk if your floors are uneven. Alternatively, you can remove and replace them with the plastic wheel casters, but note that this will increase the minimum height of your desk by about 2 inches. Each of the casters has a lock tab on it, and when engaged, prevents the wheels from spinning freely. Note, however, that the wheels are hard plastic and may leave scuff or scratch marks on your floors. Since I need the height of the desk to be at its absolute lowest, I'll be using the stud feet. Next, we'll assemble the keyboard tray. On the underside are 4 pre-drilled holes for the metal backstop brackets. Install them with the small silver screws included with the sliders. I found it easiest to overhang the tray on a table edge to give the bracket some clearance. Note that because these screws have cup heads, they will not seat flush when fully tightened. Now we can flip the tray over and install the sliders. These have specific left and right, and you'll want to extend them and attach the flat sides through the 3 holes. Make sure the hanging brackets are facing up and the plastic tip is at the front of the tray. We'll use 3 of the silver wood screws and line up the slider with the pre-drilled holes on their respective sides. 1 screw goes at the front, 1 in the middle, and you'll need to pull the slider all the way out and hold it in place to access the last one. Then do the same on the other side. Now we'll install the adjustable L hanging brackets. If you need the tray to be lower, simply install the bracket higher up. There are 3 positions you can choose from. I don't recommend going past the 3rd hole, as the connection may not be super secure. Secure the hangers in place with the pan head machine screws and ensure that you've set each bracket to the same height. Now place the tray upside down on the underside of the desktop in front of the center crossbar, and line the hangers up with the pre-drilled holes. Then secure each bracket with 2 silver wood screws. Last but not least, we'll attach the controller on the same side of the desk as the motor towards the front. Secure it with 2 of the black wood screws. Note that when assembled, the controller will be positioned on the right-hand side of the desk, while the entire frame could be flipped around so that the motor and controller are on the left-hand side. Note that there are no pre-drilled holes for the controller on that side. Now plug the 6-pin connector from the motor into the corresponding port on the back of the controller, and then the 2-pin connector from the plug adapter into the power slot. Use the included stick-on zip ties for cable management to tidy up the wires underneath. And now we can go ahead and carefully flip the desk over. If the floor where you plan to set your desk is uneven, you'll need to adjust the stud feet to level it. If you need to route cables, press and rotate the spring-loaded tab in the cover plate in either corner of the desk, and you'll be able to feed small cables through. For larger cables and plugs, you can simply pop the cover off, and then replace it afterwards. The diameter of the opening is 1 3/4 inches. I like that if you don't need to use it, the opening for the cover pops back into place and is relatively flat. The height I chose for the keyboard tray is 4 3/8 of an inch below the surface of the main desk. The tray is 23 inches wide, 9 3/4 inches deep, giving me enough space for my 10 keyless keyboard and mouse. Though wider full keyboards would leave you with much less mouse space. The backstop tab prevents your keyboard from sliding off the back of the tray, but only if it sits flat on its surface. If your keyboard is raised, the bracket may not be tall enough. The other thing is that the depth is somewhat shallow, and it didn't fit my mouse pad, as you can see it hangs off the front. I could slide it back over the backstop tab, or perhaps turn it horizontally, but then my keyboard would be lopsided. When fully assembled with the stud feet, the minimum desktop height is 29 inches from the floor. It's 23.5 inches deep and 47 inches wide, so just shy of the advertised measurements. To raise and lower the desk, press and hold the up or down keys respectively, and the desk will quietly lift or lower until the button is released. To save a height setting to one of the 4 touch buttons, simply press and hold it until the number on the screen flashes. You can also adjust the height in small increments by short pressing the up and down keys. The lowest setting is 28.3 inches, and the highest is 46.4 inches, though keep in mind you'll need to add in the height of the feet or casters to determine the final height. If you need to restrict the height range of the desk for clearance reasons, you can set a custom high and low setting that the desk will not exceed. The control panel can also be locked by long pressing the 1 and 2 buttons at the same time for 3 seconds. If you want to change from imperial measurements in inches to metric, press and hold the 1 and 3 buttons together for 3 seconds, and the units for the display will change to centimeters. One addition I made to the desk is I attached a power strip using double-sided tape to the back of the leg next to the motor, where I can plug in all the devices on my desk, including the desk motor itself. This is because as the desk moves up and down, I didn't want to worry about wires being pulled out of a power strip sitting on the ground or getting tangled. If you have things on top of your desk plugged into something underneath, like a desktop tower, remember to leave enough slack in your wires to accommodate any height changes, because if your cables are too short, they will pull out or could be damaged. I also found the headphone hangers on the sides to be pretty convenient, though I do wish the width were a little bit wider to accommodate the entire headband of my headset. I was impressed with the smoothness and relative noiselessness of the motor, which ramps up and down at the beginning and end of moving, so that there's little vibration and no jerkiness. The finish on the MDF surface is also quite nice, with a stylish look and a smooth matte feel. It's also slightly waterproof, though the veneer is thin and could chip. There's a tiny seam where the boards meet, but I don't mind it, and I also noticed a slight gap at the ends, about 1/32 of an inch wide, so that's not a deal breaker for me. With this desk, now I can work at my computer with proper ergonomics and posture, and when I want to take a break from sitting, I can press one button to bring the desk up to the height I need to work from a standing position comfortably. It also lets me store my office chair completely under the desk at the end of my workday. I wasn't, however, able to get the anti-collision feature to work, so just be cautious to avoid the desk from striking or crushing something underneath. It was affordable, works great, and I was able to put it together in under an hour. I hope you enjoyed this review. You can ask me any questions in the comments. I'll put a link to the product in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and join me next time.